Hello, fellas. So, drafted twice last week, and it's Friday again, blah, blah, blah. Should have done this earlier in the week. Meant to do it earlier in the week, but stuff happens. So a couple of notes before I get into my draft decks from this past week. The sleeves that I use, for those who are interested, are Ultra Pro Non-Glare Pro Matte sleeves. My FLGS was selling for $4 for a pack of 50. One of the things I'd like to say about them, the reason why I like them is because the backs of the cards are lightly textured. You might note they're not quite as shiny as others. What having the back of the card lightly textured means is they shuffle easier. A lot of times sleeves, especially brand new sleeves that are smooth on both sides, you go to shuffle them, and they're all over the place. I mean, cards slide all over, the card sleeves slide all over each other, and if you're not really careful with them, especially with a fresh set of sleeves, while shuffling your deck, you'll turn it into a gigantic mess. You'll just spray cards all over the table because they'll slip right over each other and do whatever they want. Which is why I like the Pro Mats. Like I said, they're lightly textured on the back, which means you can they're easier to handle. They won't slip as easily, and they won't slip on each other as easily because of that. That's really nice. That's really nice. Another thing I want to say is that I got around to seeing Prometheus earlier in the week, the Alien prequel, and I was disappointed by it. I walked out of the movie really confused because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wait, did I just pay good money to have Ridley Scott flip me off? Yeah. So if you want to see Prometheus, wait till it comes out on Netflix or something. Don't see it in the theater. You'll waste your money. And on my way home, I stopped by Wally World and I picked up a Avacyn Restored Fat Pack. Probably shouldn't have, but I did anyway. And 9 booster packs, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these cards that are basically they're double-sided advertisements. Now, this one, it's advertisements on one side, and supposedly tips on the other. This one actually has a tip that would be useful for a new player. Deck should be 40% land and 25 to 40% creatures. That's one of those things that took a long time for my friends to learn too, because what we usually do is we go like a deck at 1/3 land, which is only 20 lands. 40% is like 24 lands. For a constructed deck, 60 card deck. A card that says, hey, you can attack planeswalkers with your creatures, not just players. That's nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you any of the real rules about planeswalkers, which would have been better. An ad for booster draft and sealed deck, whoop-de-doo. An ad that says, hey, go to Gatherer on Wizards website and their card database and look for stuff. All well and good. Card that tries to push the soul bond mechanic without actually telling you how it works. A card that talks about the miracle mechanic without telling you how it works. And like I said, that was like 7 out of 9 boosters, guys. Seriously. And the other side of the card is just advertising. You couldn't have given us a token creature on one side, or even put just a sample deck list for the new players. Put a sample deck list on one side. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I mean, you could go with like a mono blue deck list of like 24 islands, 4 cancels, 4 mana leaks, 4 merfolk looters, blah 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 blah. Something simple and relatively easy to do. But just throw a dozen uncommons into the deck list and like 3 or 4 rares into the deck list. to give it some pizzazz. You know, like maybe throw a pair of Frost Titans into that blue deck list and something else, whatever, blah, 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 blah. The point being is, just by putting the deck list in there, someone's going to go out and they're going to get the cards to make the deck. And I think that'd be a lot better. And these things are crap. They're just crap. I mean, and because they're like, you know, stiff cardstock cardboard, you can't even blow your nose on them. I mean, come on, guys, really? This is crap. This is garbage. It's waste. I mean, maybe some guy in marketing thinks this is a great idea, but nobody really looks at those. I'll be perfectly honest, the contents on some of them actually surprised me a little bit because I've never really looked at them because they're useless. They're pointless. I mean, at best, I use them as dividers in card boxes. I mean, come on, people. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? I don't know. So yeah, draft decks from this past week. First draft, I was running this here blue-green build. I had 3 Spectral Prisons, 3 Mist Ravens, a Haven Gull Scab. I made it a point to like snag one of him for use of the Mist Ravens. Whenever he attacks, you return a creature you control to your hand. Works really nice with the Mist Ravens. Fettergeist, I'd traditionally been really hesitant about using him. I was satisfied with how he worked. 2 Scrapskin Drakes, Stern Mentor, you know, milling is an alternate win condition. Never really came up. Latch Seeker, 3/1 unblockable, nice. Elga's Shieldmate, yeah, the ability to make something hexproof is always beautiful. A Ghostly Flicker, a Crippling Chew. Bladed Bracers was nice because I have I have a small number of 1, 2, 3, 4 humans in the deck, so you know, the optional vigilance was nice. Hellgeist won me at least 1 or 2 games, just because of his difficult to block. A Wandering Wolf, a Trusted Force Mage, a Joint Assault, a Timberland Guide, Snare the Skies. And I also had a Wolf here Avenger. I had a foil Wolf here Avenger in here as well. I kicked him into the prize pool. Also, I was main decking an Alchemist Refuge, which never actually came in handy, but you know, just having the effect there if I want it is kind of nice. I'm not going to lie about that. But yeah, the Refuge went into the prize pool. I got it back. My keeper out of this mess was a Silverblade Paladin that I had in prize pool. He's actually pretty nice. I like him. Grabbed the Lunar Mystic out of the prize pool. No one's actually looking for that thing. Sideboard. Natural End against Artifacts, Enchantments. Verse Claw, just Forced Claw, whatever you want to pronounce it as. He just didn't make the cut. Rot Crown Ghoul didn't make the cut. Ghostly Touch didn't make the cut. A Leap of Faith, a Curse Break, and Firebog Explorer were just like, there was nothing in the pack for me. I'll snap these up. A Necrobite, a Renegade Demon, a Predator's Gambit, Banners Raised, yeah, Dangerous Wager, Demolished, a Stone Right. Stone Right's actually, I think that was actually a relatively early hate draft in a pack that didn't have much in it for me anyway. That or I picked it really early in pack 1 when I wasn't sure yet which colors I was going into. Stone Right's a good card. He soul bonds for fire breathing. That's pretty saucy. That's pretty saucy. So anyways, this deck overall, it didn't do badly. I didn't do badly with it. It was pretty solid overall. Those cards that I had 3 of, I was disappointed by the fact that I rarely got more than one of either one of them in any given game. But, oh well, that's life. It happens sometimes. Blah, 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 blah. The deck did okay. I'm not going to complain about it in the slightest. So I had a Descendant's Path in sideboard as well. I didn't use that because I just didn't... My creature base wasn't consistently tribal enough to be worth it. You know what I'm saying? The second draft, I ended up with this thing. I rounds 1 and 2, I beat my opponents. Round 3, I'm going up against Rich. I think we were playing for like 3rd or 4th place. Whichever one of us won would get 3rd or 4th place. Rich beat me, and because I lost to Rich and I had bad tiebreaker points, all the people that I beat and the guys that I beat in rounds 1 and 2 overall didn't end up having the best records at the end themselves either, so that put me down on tiebreaker points. So although I did okay with the deck, final standing was still less than great, to say the least. And there's my keeper out of this mess. A Somberwald Sage foil. It's kind of nice. I had a U-Spirit, 2 Abundant Growths. It's card draw and mana fixing. Can't complain. Excuse me. A Hellgeist, Sheltering Word. It's a defensive spell. Wolfear Avenger. Once again, he's nice. Gloom Widow. Hey, she's a 3/3 body with reach for 3 mana. Yeah, she can only block flyers. Oh well. Blessings of Nature, it's a nice card, and also last week was the first time I've ever been able to play a Miracle card for its Miracle cost. Traditionally what would happen is I'd either end up with the Miracles in my opening hand, or I'd draw them when I couldn't pay the Miracle cost anyway. Or there was no real target for the Miracle, you know? These things happen. Druid's Familiar, he's really, really good. People snap him right up. Nightshade Peddler, he's nice. Soul Monster, Death Touch. Metal Swine, it's a solid card. It's not first pick worthy or anything, but it's solid. 2 Nephalia Smugglers, amazingly enough, I ended up with those, and I had very few cards that would actually be worth freaking flickering with them. Just the Griff Vanguard and the Mistraven. An Alchemist Apprentice is a nice little filler card. A pair of Ghostly Flickers. A Vanishment, a Master Components. Fleeing Distraction is an interesting one here. I actually sideboarded that against Rich in round 3. Originally that card slot was taken up by an Eaten by Spiders. I didn't see any flyers in his deck, so I boarded the Eaten by Spiders out and put in the Fleeing Distraction. Yeah, mostly just to accelerate me a little bit. What else have I got here? Hold on a second. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't the last deck that had the foil Wolfear Avenger, it was this one. Brain fart. I'm sorry. But still, it was nice having 2 Wolfear Avengers, I gotta say. I also had a Demonic Rising in this deck. I kicked that to the prize pool, didn't get it back. Get these swept aside. So anyways, I was saying sideboard, Eaten by Spiders, pair of Geist Snatches. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not wild about Geist Snatch. If it was counter target spell instead of target creature spell, I'd be more prone to running it, you know? That, and I haven't had a lot of good experiences with it, even though I have tried running it before. 2 Bower Passages, creatures with flying can't block creatures you control. That's interesting. I picked those up figuring I'd end up with more flyers than I did, and when I realized I only had like 2 flyers in the deck, I'm like, screw it, not worth playing it. Another great thing about Bower Passage is I kept reading it too fast and having to double take on it, because I kept looking it over and seeing Bowser Passage, and I'm like, no, it is not a reference to Super Mario Brothers, nor Sha-Na-Na. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Sha-Na-Na, that's okay. I'm barely old enough to remember it. Ask your parents about it. Galvanic Alchemist, it's alright, he just didn't make the cut. Rain of Thorns, didn't make the cut. Snare of the Skies, didn't make the cut. Scroll of Gristleband, meh. Had a Seraph of Dawn, a Zealous Strike, another Stone Right, Bloodful Connoisseur, Even Nightshade, Necrobite, Ghoul Flesh, Purger's Gambit, a Renegade Demon. Prize pool, I pulled up a Dark Imposter and a Hound of Gristlebrand. I like the Hound. Dark Imposter, I know from experience, is like seeing him on the other side of the board is kind of intimidating. But, all well and good. Like I said, this deck for the most part did okay, but I didn't place well with it anyway. Go fig. Go fig. I've been seeing some interesting spoilers from, speaking of the Dark Imposter there, you reminded me, I've seen some interesting spoilers for M13, and there's apparently going to be a new version of Liliana Vesh, and she's got some nice mon accelerating abilities. Really nice. So he might actually see competitive play after she hits hits standard. We'll see. We shall see. Anything else I was going to say? I've looked over all of the Plane Chase 2012 decks. I'm going to put up a separate video reviewing those. I've had a couple of requests for for a video to try and, like, help newbies and, instruct on the game, blah blah blah. And I've got no objection to doing that. It's just a matter of getting around to doing it, and that and most of the decks that I have available right now aren't very conductive to teaching the game. Because a lot of my decks, they have some sort of weirdness or twist to them that either makes them function in a way that you'd have to actually stop and look at and digest it, or they make, how can I put this? I play a few decks with some strong control and disruption elements. People don't like playing against control and disruption. As is, for example, the two most hated deck archetypes ever made are Land Destruction and Discard. And I've been known to use Land Destruction and Land Denial pretty strongly, because that's what I do. That, of course, is the other big deck archetype that people hate, is the Counterspell heavy deck, and I use those too. Because, and this is one of the things people fail to keep in mind. They're sitting like, oh, well, it's totally non-interactive, and I don't get to do anything, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, guys, control decks, and land denial decks, disruption decks, these decks all have a strategy built around you. You, the opponent. Those decks are all designed with you in mind. Those decks are designed for you. It's not that it's not interactive, it's that the deck goes out of its way to sit there and screw with you, because it knows by doing that it increases its own chance of winning. Well, it's not it knows, the player knows that basically hobbling you increases his chances of winning with whatever his strategy is. And you know what? That is actually surprisingly interactive, especially counterspells. Counterspells by definition are interactive because because counterspells are all about reacting to what you do. Think about it. Counterspell decks got nothing to do if you don't do anything. But, and that's one of the things I like about control decks overall, though, is because, control decks actually acknowledge the opponent's existence. There are a lot of aggro decks out there that don't actually care what the opponent plays. It's, turn 1, play creature, go. Turn 2, play creature, turn creature sideways, go. Turn 3, play another creature, turn sideways, go. Turn 4, I play 2 creatures, team turns sideways, go. And a lot of them play really, really stupidly. I mean, it requires no real skill or intelligence to play some of these aggro decks. Mind you, of course, a skillful, intelligent player is more likely to be able to take the deck to a victory anyway if things do get complicated. But in the end, the deck itself, if everything goes according to plan, pretty simple to run. Right up there with my Bolt deck, which I showed off a couple episodes back. It's a really simple design. You could teach a cat how to play that. And there's the whole thing. And then there's storm decks. Oh, good gods. A storm deck basically consists of turn 1, play land, maybe something else here, whatever, go. Turn 2, repeat to turn 1, go. Turn 3, I explode into motion, and if everything goes according to plan, you lose. Storm decks just sit there and play by themselves for a few turns, and then explode in a fury of playing spells, and then kill you with a storm spell. But they ignore you most of the game. The extent of the storm deck's interaction with the opponent is taking damage and passing turn. That's it. I mean, at least, with control decks and the like, the way I play them, what it comes down to is I knock you to the ground, sit on your chest, and keep taunting you with what are you going to do about it. The deck is all about you. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, guys. Control decks are all about the opponent. They're all about the opponent. And I know that sounds really, really weird. But trust me, that's how it works. That is how it works. Another thing I want to say before I forget. This is a nice little playmat I got a while back. There's also, running around, Wizards has this promotional banner with this same art on it that they have that they've given away to a few game shops and whatnot. My own friendly local game seller, FLGS, had one. I bought it off him recently because he's closing his doors at the end of the month. The game shop's going out of business, and that makes me really sad. On the other hand, people are actually starting to just buy up all sorts of crazy knickknacks from the place now too, and that's the rub of it. The game shop going out of business is like a cross between Christmas and a funeral. Because it's like Christmas because there's a lot of stuff. It's now on sale at cut rate, and it's also like a funeral because the game shop's going out of business, man. That's wrong. It's sad. It's a lot of things, It's a lot of things. Alrighty. Well, I'll get all this squared away and I'll unsleeve my cards and blah blah blah, get ready to play tonight and see if I can't get that Plane Chase 2012 video put together. Alright, be good, fellas. Stay safe.